pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is being held, this special meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice has been given to Star Ledger and the Verona City Grove Times. Mr. Quattrochi? Here. Mr. Eunice?
Here.
Mr. Molino?
Here.
Mr. Elliott?
Here.
Mr. Watt?
Okay. So welcome to a specially scheduled meeting, which the board does do from time to time as the agenda presents itself. And before we get into the details of that, is there any public comment or question on the agenda itself? So we do have two resolutions on the.
Yeah, I gave it to the two.
And then there's an addendum resolution that we'll get into in a moment. The first two resolutions are resolutions that we need to approve just the timeliness of the positions. One is a volunteer position for the high school band, so that person can get going sooner rather than later for the band season for the summer. And the second one is a appointment that we need to make officially for our summer BC program. And this is for our psychology class that we're offering for the first time as a dual enrollment course for the summer. We have 10 students enrolled in that, and that's going to start very shortly. The addendum resolution, and I'll let Mr. Forte speak in greater detail, is the appointment of a principal for Lanning Avenue School. We've been through a multi-month now interview and planning process. We've gone through a number of different scenarios of personnel assignments, movements, opportunities, career changes, interviews, etc. And we believe we found a terrific candidate to take the helm of planning. It'll be a one-for-one replacement for Mr. Albano. All other responsibilities across the district remain largely intact, other than changes that were already happening with the hiring of Chocolate.
Correct. So, Ms. Julie DiGiacomo is the candidate that I am putting forward with my recommendation to replace Mr. Albano. She has 20 years experience in education in some very highly thought of districts such as Livingston, Tenafly, and Cresskill. Currently she's an assistant principal in Cresskill, and she manages the language arts curriculum as well for the district. She has many years experience in elementary education, and she is an expert in the field of literacy. Very confident that she will help to bring Lanning School and district forward in the future.
I would just add that Ms. Giacomo has a dual master's, one in administration and supervision, the other in reading. As Mr. Forte says, she has many years' experience from 1992 on at the districts that you mentioned, which are all high-performing districts, Cresskill, Tenafly, and Livingston. So she brings with her some experiences from some very high-performing and high self-demand districts. She's currently the assistant principal at Cresskill High School, and which is a grade 6 to 12 school. She's also the coordinator for their K-12 supervisors. She's a K-12 world language and media supervisor, district testing coordinator for a year prior, and K-12 language arts supervisor for 1 year as a film. Just real quick on the other highlights here. In Tenafly, she was there most recently the K-12 staff development head, K coordinator and teacher for the Gifted and Talented program, NJS district coordinator. At Livingston, she was a literacy coach, PSI reading teacher, elementary teacher from 1992 through 2006. She was a tennis life from 2006 until 2010. And then from 2011 to today, she's at Crystal. So we're excited to bring a talented person like Ms. DiGiacomo to the district, and we'll arrange when it's more convenient to have her meet with the parents and the school community here in Verona. We did have the SCA was represented in part of the interview process once we got down to the select candidates, so the Atlantic SCA president, as well as our curriculum director, one of our elementary principals, Mr. Moncelli, one of our landing teachers, Ms. Skinner, special education, who's our preschool is held at Lanning, Dr. Bangier, who's our supervisor for humanities, including language arts, and Mr. Forte comprised the committee that did the interview. Are there any questions or comments from board members before we call for resolutions?
Just a quick comment on Ms. Giacomo. Initially, when we received the news that Mr. Lanning was going to be retiring, I thought this may be an opportunity for us to look at restructuring some of our administrative structure. But then, looking at the qualifications that Ms. Giacomo has and the caliber of herself and the quality she brings to the district, it just became clear that she was the right person to hire for this job. We also have some really qualified internal candidates applying for the job, and thanks to them for going through the process. But we're looking forward to bringing her on board.
Mr. Forte, what's there's no, on the resolution, we don't have a start date other than September 1st, that would be the start date.
That's the official start date, because she's a 10-month employee, but she will be able to start work in August.
She will. Okay.
That's what their superintendent has told us, that they would release her to allow her to begin.
Okay, so so two last things then. Given the significance of the position for us to head up one of our schools, Mr. Forte and team have done a fair amount of due diligence and reference checks and all the rest, and as these sorts of positions, as you would hope that the process operates, the superintendent, where she's currently working at Crestfield, has been very, very supportive, working with Mr. Forte on the start date. And one of the reasons why we are having a special meeting to pass the resolution is because every moment that passes into July seems to be another combination of board members that are going to be challenged to be here and to conduct the vote, to give it credibility, want as many people as possible, of course. And the second thing is, because she is under contract at Crestfield, she does have notice period requirements, and we do want to get a person free and clear and ready to start well in advance of the school year, so we're not starting September. A couple hundred students show up and we're still operating in a temporary way.
I'd just like to add to welcoming Julie into our district. One of the things that we do really well as a district is we are really strategic about how we design our district, about how we structure not only our curriculum, but how we structure a sustainable plan for the future for our finance, and also how we structure our staff administratively and teacher-wise. Julie will be a great addition to the already outstanding staff that we have, right? We have an outstanding staff here, and some administrators that we've worked over the past decade to bring in. And I definitely look forward to seeing her in that role and adding to what we already have. Bringing, as I think Mr. Marcoshi alluded to, more wind in our sails.
So one last thing before we go into resolutions, we'll just remind Mr. Forte that one of the things we want to do is once we do the resolutions tonight, so we get a real vote support, which I imagine we're going to do, is to coordinate with the SCA to have a more populated meeting, if possible.
I thought about having a night, not thought about, I already talked to Julie about having a night meeting with families in August.
Yeah, that would be try to, there's always going to be folks that can't make it. At least an introductory one, and then once September rolls around, folks come back off holiday, travel.
And she has some travel coming up, and she's to finish up, she's doing the Cresco, so we're looking forward towards later in August.
So I would
Want to invite the staff perhaps as well
Yeah.
at the time?
Yeah, what I would do is I would recommend to send out a notice to the Atlantic community staff and parents and say, well, we want to get a meeting read, an initial one as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, we're challenged that it's going to be sometime in late July or August, so we recognize that this is just an initial one, and then once September rolls around, the job will schedule a formal meeting with everybody.
So I think we used to do in the past, state of the schools, the superintendent used to meet with the community twice a year, and kind of give an update. I'm just kind of throwing it out there, fielded in that capacity where this is like the welcome superintendent back to the school year community, and maybe the Giacomo can be the highlight of that meeting, and then next 6 months from then you have the second one. I was going to say, it's kind of framing it.
We just want to make sure that we're doing all we can to continue to be as inclusive as we can to get the community.
Yeah.
Just recognize the business. Okay, let's call for resolutions 1 and 2 and personnel resolution number 1.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Polino, seconded by Ms. Davis. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, let's call the vote.
Okay. We're doing all resolutions at the same time?
1, 2, and 1, number 2, and personnel resolution.
Okay, personnel resolution number 1.
2.
1, 2, and addendum 1. Mr. Quattrochi?
Aye.
Mr. Molina? Mr. Udis?
Aye.
Mr. Elliott?
Aye.
Mr. Blanc?
Okay. We are meeting again on July 30th. That is our next scheduled public meeting. We'll have our confidential session at 7 and public meeting at 8. Is there any question or comment from anybody?
I do have a comment. Not pertaining to this.
That's okay.
On the way out to our and I'm sure all you recall last time I was here. It was last June after the 5th grade camp. Do we need this?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. It was last June after the 5th grade camp learning party where quite a few of the current 6th grade fathers had left their chaperone duties in order that they and their sons gather together for a party complete with alcohol, food, bonfires, clearly all against the rules specified for the chaperones on that trip. The Verona School Administration and the Board of Ed chose not to investigate this incident. Instead, the Board of Ed revised the entire school trip policies, including the chaperone policy. And I will quote from that new chaperone policy. When a staff member, so it's Article D under your policy is correct. When a staff member who is responsible for a school-sponsored trip determines the need for chaperones, he or she, along with the principal, will be responsible for determining the required number and taking the necessary steps to secure the additional personnel. The staff member in charge of the trip is responsible for appointing and training the chaperones. Chaperones should be persons known to the staff member to be responsible, dependable, and comfortable with the children of the pupil's age and children. The staff member and the principal will determine the number of chaperones per student as needed on a case-by-case, considering, among other things, age of the students and location of the trip. Okay, that's the new policy as of last summer and fall. That's what should have happened. Appointed chaperones, responsible, dependable, comfortable with the students, and I'd like to think the other way around, that though the students will be comfortable with the chaperones. Here's the reality. If you take a look at what I've distributed, which I'll distribute right now.
Okay.
Just one thing, for other stuff. What you have there is a letter signed by the HBW 6th grade teachers detailing specifics about the 6th grade class trip before it happened. this was, this was in order to alert the parents as to what they were doing and get the necessary signatures, okay? It happened on June 14th, Friday, and they went to the American Museum of Natural History in New York City. And I'm going to quote from this permission slip. The next to the last paragraph says, the first 35 parents who volunteered to chaperone will be taken. The remainder of the parents who wish to attend will be placed on a wait list. Please consider joining us for an exciting day spent with your son or daughter and their classmates. Remember, it is on a, quote, first come, first served basis, unquote. And you will receive a letter letting you know you've been accepted as a chaperone. So there you have it. First come, first served. In direct conflict with appointing the chaperones, who should be known to the staff member to be responsible, dependable, comfortable with the children. What we have here is a violation of the chaperone policy. Pretty clear and simple. When I met with Ms. McNeil and Mr. Freund on the day of the class trip, after I pulled my son from the class trip, because I found out he was going, Ms. McNeil insisted that they do not violate the policy. She knew what I was coming for, and yet she didn't have the policy there in front of her. I had to tell her what the policy, and Mr. Freund was here also, what the policy was. And I told her exactly what had gone out to the parents. A response, oh, the sixth grade teachers must not have known this. That's what she said, and I was for it. She put it entirely in the lines of the sixth grade teachers and washed her hands of it. I find it really hard to believe that Ms. McNeil just forgot that there was a new chaperone policy after all that everyone went through last summer. I refuse to believe that, Mr. Eunice, just a moment ago, you were commending the staff and administration here in Verona, what wonderful jobs they do. And yet, here's an act that seems so totally incompetent that you forget you have a new chaperone policy. Or maybe she remembered that there was a new chaperone policy, but she didn't know it and she decided not to look it up. What happened here? It doesn't make sense at all. And so that's why I'm asking the Board of Ed to investigate why the HPW administration chose not to follow the new policy and in doing so violated that policy.
Okay, I think that's a great point. You got all the preparation that you want. We'll turn over to Mr. Forte to meet with the school principal and understand what elements of the policy were not followed and why, and to make sure that they're correct.
And just so you all know, and Mr. Forte might know at this point, I'm not sure, but I have called the state of New Jersey Department of Education on this. I spoke to Mr. Joseph Zarrow, who's the supervisor in charge of superintendents. I'm serious. He's looking into the matter, and he said he's going to contact you. Okay?
No, Mr. Zarrow has not contacted me.
I certainly hope, we find some resolution here as to why this new chaperone policy was completely and utterly ignored. And I pulled my child from that trip not being comfortable with certain chaperones who were on that trip.
So what we'll do is, Mr. Forte will check into what went on here, if there is any resolution or corrective action for you, and we'll report on it.
Okay, great, thank you.
And I will reach out to Mr. Zarrow too.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, our next meeting is July 30th at 7 o'clock confidential session and an 8 o'clock public session following that regular board meeting.